This One's Wife. Grief Ghoul's Fake Tears. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. This One's Wife who's been engaging in something of a PR blitz as of late. We had her appearing in Paris for the Fashion show. We saw her taking Gloria Steinem hostage in New York. She turned up to spout some nonsense at the Project Healthy Minds gala. We also found that she was having a shit on the table, or rather a seat at the table, when she purportedly sought to force her cheap plonk on various other women at what looked like a ghastly dinner hosted at somebody's house whose name I forget, and there was a speech by Emma Grede. And now she's turned up at a tennis tournament. Yes, as per People, This One's Wife and Prince Harry showed support for one of the Duchess of Sussex's close friends at a charity fundraiser in Los Angeles. On Saturday, the couple attended the George Zaffin tennis tournament at the Los Angeles Tennis Club. The event, held in memory of the late George Zaffin, raises funds for the Alliance for Children's Rights, which provides legal services, safe housing, education, and family support for vulnerable children. This One's Wife continues to bang the drum, suggesting that she is an advocate for children, despite the fact that she hangs out with notorious child cyberbully Chrissy Teigen and posts her own children to social media. Anyway, This One's Wife's close friend, Kelly McKee Zaffin, unexpectedly lost her son George in 2022. He was just 9 when he died of COVID and viral meningitis. Thus, This One's Wife turns up, and naturally she has form as a grief ghoul. You'll recall her appearance at Uvalde, the fact that she utilised the grief of parents who'd lost their children as a consequence of online harm, and earlier this year, her attendance at the LA wildfires. This is because as a middle-range type A narcissist, her whole shtick is, I'm a good person and I show up and do good. She doesn't think to herself, ooh, tragedy, that'll be useful for me to attend. But rather, she naturally gravitates towards it, driven by her narcissism, which sees the opportunity for her to use other people's grief, to use other people's tragedy, as an opportunity to assert control over people as a whole, draw fuel from them by way of their responses, and to access character traits and residual benefits. In other words, her narcissism causes her to cynically exploit the tragedy of others for the furtherance of the prime aims. And it's no different here. This One's Wife thinks that turning up in her sleeveless dress and showing off her oversized second toe in her sandals is providing support to her friend. But the reality, and we know this because she's a narcissist, is that she's pursuing the prime aims. She turns up wearing the same dress that she wore at Easter in the infamous, oh, I've just appeared from the undergrowth, and I just happened to have stumbled upon Mother Duck and her ducklings. And, oh, look, there's somebody there that just happens to be available to photograph it all so that I can put it on Instagram whilst I make a stupid face, which is my attempt at looking surprised and overawed by this wonderful Easter act. Yes. So that dress got another airing. Naturally, her narcissism needs her to be known to be attending this event, so People report upon it. And we also see 2 further instances in relation to her narcissism. The first is that she utilises the tragedy of somebody else's grief to then stick it on her own Instagram. First of all, we have this. That was posted to This One's Wife's personal Instagram, showing, I think it's Kelly Zaffin's daughter running across a tennis court, and then there is a picture, of course, of This One's Wife walking hand in hand with Kelly Zaffin. These women are in their 40s, acting like they are still at primary school, completely unnatural. Then, naturally, there is a picture of This One's Wife hugging Kelly Zaffin, so we all know what a kind and caring human being This One's Wife is. And then there's a further picture of Kelly Zaffin this one's wife and Kelly Zaffin's daughter. And then another one of the three of them stood posing with this one's wife, attempting to smile, but coming off more like Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, playing the Joker as she stared down that lens. When you look at the expressions of the other individuals, there appears to be a degree of melancholy. After all, this is in relation to the death of the son and the brother of two of the women that you see in the picture. This one's wife, it's just another opportunity for her to make it seem like she's a kind and decent person. So once again, there she is, milking the situation for the furtherance of the prime aims. Interestingly, this is all about providing funds for the Alliance for Children's Rights. Where are Archie and Lilibet? Were they in attendance? No. This one's wife sees fit to post plenty of Kelly Zaffin's daughter on her Instagram, which includes a picture of her having a hug with Uncle Harry. But Archie and Lilibet? No, they're still kept in the attic. They don't get a day out at the tennis club. That would be fun. I mean, it's not like Ma and Pa have been away from them much recently, arsing around in Paris and New York and such like. No, they wouldn't want a day out with their parents, would they? Best keep them in the attic out of the way. Instead, this one's wife demonstrates once again her hypocrisy as a consequence of the fact that she talks about children's rights but doesn't even bother to bring along her own children. She doesn't have to show them, but if they were there, we would know that they were there because people would have mentioned and we would have seen the back of their heads in some video footage. But it doesn't just end there. Here's some more of this one's wife's narcissism. That piece of footage appeared on Instagram, and it would appear that Kelly Zaffin is saying a few words in relation to, presumably, her deceased son and, of course, the foundation as the attendees stand listening, which includes this one's wife, where the camera just happens to focus in on her, and beneath her, there is a photographer taking pictures right of her. And then she lifts her finger to dab at her eyes to make it seem as though she's being overwhelmed by the emotion. Yes, it is performative. Once again, it's redolent of the one tear, left eye, go. She knows she's being photographed. She knows that she's being filmed. So in order to make it seem like she is overcome with grief and sorrow, she dabs at her eyes. Truly demonstrates once again what an awful performative narcissist this woman is. That the grief ghoul swoops in, utilizes somebody else's tragedy for the purposes of ensuring that people hear about it, that it's placed on her Instagram, that she's filmed supposedly crying so that people think to themselves, oh look, isn't she kind? Isn't she sweet? Isn't she supportive? She's so moved. Anybody that knows that she is a narcissist knows that she's completely devoid of emotional empathy, that she doesn't give a rat's ass. In actual fact, if she was truly crying, it would be because it wasn't about her. The fact is, she knows she's being photographed, she knows she's being filmed, so her narcissism, as part of the assertion of control, utilizes this display of fake grief in order to make it seem like she truly cares, so that people will respond appropriately to this performance. The fact is, we know that it's fake because she's a narcissist, and we've also seen the way that she's behaved in this way previously, and therefore, unless you're a simple sugar, you're not going to be taken in by this. Yet again, she hijacks the whole thing to make it all about her appearing in People, using it for her Instagram. If she had any decency, she would have not leaked it to People. She would have not placed it on Instagram. Naturally, if you level the accusation at her that she's a grief ghoul, and she was moved to respond, it would simply be the case, probably through a spokesperson, that would be said, well, it's all about raising awareness of the Alliance for Children's Rights, and she hides behind that. We know it isn't. We know it's all about her, because as a narcissist, it always has to be about this grief ghoul. This is the grief ghoul and her fake tears. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for watching.